Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cold Outreach Success Stories, where we interview regular business people just like you who have achieved consistent business results using cold outreach on email and other channels. We go deep into their process with hot tips around personalization, messaging, and targeting to make sure that you take away some good ideas to make your cold outreach successful. Today, I have with me Nigel. Nigel is the founder of Everscript, a digital content marketing agency that is focused on helping small and medium sized businesses with better connect with their customers through content marketing. They're based out of Pennsylvania. Nigel, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Surav.
All right. So let's just dive in. Let's just dive in and understand what is Everscript and how do you guys make money?
All right, so Everscript, we are a digital content marketing agency, and what we do is help small to medium-sized businesses better connect with their audience via content marketing. So everybody knows that content is king, especially in times that we live in currently. It's the way of most businesses use to connect with their audience, and we kind of help them do that by streamlining the process, identifying the best topics, and also creating content and then monitoring the results for them on their end. So we're actually serving pretty much as an in-house content marketing agency for small to medium-sized businesses all around the world.
All right. And at what stage do you guys typically get involved? So if I'm a SaaS business, like I own a SaaS business and I've just written a couple of blog posts.
Mhm.
I have a lot of questions in my mind around that, a lot of doubts about my, content marketing strategy. So like what's your stage? When do you guys typically get involved?
Typically, we get involved for founders, typically at early stages, I'd say. When founders are just getting started, a lot of the time what kind of prevents them from working with us typically is their budget. But if their budget is, able to or able to fit with our price range, then a lot of content marketers, businesses are ready to kind of start working with us. So I typically say that our client range is anyone between, on average, 1 to 10 employees. But we work with companies that are pre-revenue who are bootstrapping, all the way up to companies that are actually taking on, Series A and Series B funding. So we work with quite a selection of different customers. But I'd say our main audience typically focuses on SaaS and also digital services.
Okay, so wide range of clients and their maturity stages across their sort of journey. Cool, that makes sense. So let's dive deeper into your outreach process. So what's your ideal customer profile? I know you mentioned that it's a wide range, and how do you sort of get their data?
Like I said, typically our range is we start with identifying SaaS companies that are kind of fit for us to work with. This typically tends to be SaaS companies with higher end, like high ticket offers, maybe in the 2 to 3 to 400 dollar range and up. Typically, we go about finding these customers either by utilizing LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and what we'll do is typically we'll just plug in digital marketing or as software as one of the outreach techniques. And then another tool that we like to use is Crunchbase Pro, who also has like a directory that you can utilize to kind of find your audience and find different businesses that are aligned with the demographic that you're going after.
Right. Crunchbase is also much more focused on funding, right? I mean, they have a lot of financial data, and their clients are mostly investors. So it's interesting to
Yeah,
see that. Yeah, go ahead.
exactly. And that's actually something that I really like about Crunchbase is that they'll actually go about showing you exactly how much a company has actually raised previously. So that way you can actually kind of see where that company falls in terms of revenue and actually, cash that they probably have in the bank.
Yeah, it's a nice way of sort of working back to understand like how much appetite would they have for investing into content marketing.
Exactly. And like I said, we do work with companies of all sizes. We've had clients who, like I said, are bootstrapped. But the majority of our clients tend to be either earning some type of revenue or have raised some type of funding.
Right, that makes sense. Now you have their data. You went on Crunchbase, you went on Sales Navigator, you got their data out. So what next? How do you sort of, what does the cold outreach process sort of look like? How do you personalize and all that? Yeah.
All right. So after we kind of figure out and identify who our audience is, and this is kind of the fun part for me. For some reason, I actually do like doing kind of like the data scrapping side of things. It kind of just opens up my eyes to see, how many businesses actually do need content marketing and who are kind of struggling that in that aspect. So when I'm putting together my list, typically what I'll compile is via Sales Navigator. If I do my search query, I will compile the name of the founder or the CMO, as well as their email address and what their company does and their link. I'll put that into a spreadsheet, and then I'll actually scrape the data to ensure that the emails are verified using a tool such as hunter.io or Voila Norbert. And after that process, what we do is actually go into a software tool referred to as Mailshake. This is kind of like a content marketing or an email marketing tool that allows you to send out 30 plus emails at a time and then set a frequency for follow-ups to kind of automate the process for you. But, going back to your question, deep diving and personalization is going to be the number one thing that you want to do when you're reaching out to audiences or reaching out to your customers, because, most of us already experience the influx of emails that we get. And if it's not something that's going to stand out to me personally, then why would it stand out to somebody else? So when we're diving in, personalization is going to be very, very big, and getting that initial response from that customer, just so that they understand that you kind of understand their problems initially, and you're not just someone who's mass emailing, 1,000 different people the same message trying to get a sale.
Yeah, that's the right philosophy, but the actual implementation of it is what's difficult. So how do you sort of structure that? How, like, do you have a personalized line for each prospect that you're in like starting the email with? Like, what's that process in a bit more depth?
Yes. So typically, I'll start off every email just saying, I came across your company here, and whether it be Crunchbase or whether it be LinkedIn, I'll typically always mention that. And I like to also mention things such as, we share mutual connections if it's through LinkedIn, because Sales Navigator, it'll display whether or not you share a mutual connection or like a mutual interest in terms of groups. So I'll actually kind of mention that in the first paragraph, if not the first sentence, just so they have an understanding that, hey, listen, this email is actually coming to you on purpose. This email was not sent to you on accident or sent to 1,000 different people
Mhm.
containing the same thing. So I'll personalize it. So if I'm reaching out to, say, a SaaS company, I'll say something like, hey, I came across your SaaS business, and I'll actually give the name, hi name. I came across blank, whatever your company is, via LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And I noticed that we shared a few similar connections and wanted to connect because of X. And typically what I'll do for my X is obviously I'll input something that we can cater to them. So our X typically is, I'm reaching out to you because I noticed you don't have, very much blog content, or if any content, or for a lot of founders, I'm noticing that you're actually writing majority of the blog content. So you can actually be utilizing that time spent focusing on more business oriented tasks surrounded, for growth, rather than you spending hours each week researching topics that can further help you connect with your audience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So there's something to learn here from Nigel's process. So see how he is very buyer centric. So when you're reaching out to people, you need to be really putting yourself in their shoes to really understand what their problems are. So even if a really busy founder is taking time to create a lot of content, churn out a lot of content, it's important to understand that that stuff takes time, and his time is extremely valuable. He could be using it to drive actual revenue by some other tasks, right? While content might take a bit more time to mature. So that's where I think this is pretty impressive that he phrased it that way. He phrased it such as your time is valuable, give that time to something else and give that content stuff to us. So that is more powerful messaging for him, right?
Absolutely. And it's just a way to kind of get, your prospect's guard a little bit down, because typically, if you're sending an email to someone, you have to think about it how you will look at it, right? If you have 10 emails coming in, and you don't know who the sender is, chances are your guard is very high,
Mm.
and you don't necessarily even want to reply to that email, right? But if you're able to kind of break it down to say, listen, I'm reaching out to you on purpose, and this is my reason. This is what I can do for you in order to improve your day-to-day life. Then their guard slowly but surely goes down, and then you can add different things as well, such as your history and your work experience, to get them to get that initial response and hopefully jump on a phone call with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And this kind of empathy driven messaging inside the email that is the stuff that works, because ultimately the person has to feel that the guy who's behind this email really cares about me. And it's difficult in email because all that you have is text, right? It's
Exactly.
hard to convey the personality. There's no face there. There's no video that is,
Right.
that's conveying that. So that's why, the messaging and whatever email copy you're writing is so important, right?
Right. Exactly.
Correct. So cool. That's really cool. So in terms of, you mentioned some of the sources of information for personalization of the messages. So how deep do you typically go? Like how much time does it take you in particular? Like for a prospect, is it 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes? What's the range?
I'd probably say I try to keep it underneath 5 minutes. But within that 5 minutes, I am kind of going a little bit deeper than what I feel my competitors would be doing. Typically, what I'll do is, like I said, mention something that directly correlates with what you do, whatever your business process is, and who I feel your audience is. So, for instance, yesterday I actually sent out an email to a software company who helps hotels actually kind of relay out their, lobbies and just their overall hotel, I guess. So my messaging to them was kind of tailored to today's economic situation and the current pandemic that we're going through. So I mentioned, hello, whatever your name. I came across your SaaS company and I realized, I think it's really awesome what you guys are doing to help hotel companies. And then I'll actually mention something like, I feel that your company could also be beneficial today in today's current pandemic because it allows your customers to go ahead and set out for the future ways that they can kind of realign or relay out their lobbies in order to have an embark of social distancing
Hmm.
and implement that into what's going further. So you really just want to you want to apply value in a way that they can actually gain value just from your email alone without even responding to you, right? Because they may not have actually necessarily thought that. They may have thought more so like, oh wow, hotels are being closed. Our software solution is, going to crap because we're unable to sell to these hotels. But I'm trying to provide value so that it's like, okay, yeah, your software tool actually is more relevant today than probably what it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? And then they can either agree with that and they'll actually say, we agree with you, hopefully, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And in sales literature, this is sometimes called a illumination question, right? So you're
Mhm.
sort of shining a light on an opportunity or a problem that they might not have thought about, right? Because you get busy running day-to-day business and you view things with a sort of tunnel vision. So if you as an outsider can come in, like, it's not as a salesperson, right? You're not even trying to sell anything in that sense. You're just trying to sort of get them to see things in a different way.
And just build trust. That's the main thing because, if they're getting emails constantly, chances are they don't have time and they don't want to reply to you. So if you can just provide some type of value in your email, then that's just going to lower their guard, like I said. And reciprocity is one of those things where like I give something to you, then you can give something to me, or you feel entitled to give something to me. So just by providing value, then they're automatically going to say, okay, well, I can spend an extra minute just replying to this person. And once you have that initial response, then it's a lot easier to get them to set up a meeting with you to learn more about what you do.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. But there's a flip side to it, right? So if you spend a lot of time personalizing the message and thinking about all this stuff, then the volume naturally will go down. So what's your take on that? Like how many emails do you send out per day on average versus, how
Typically, I send out about 50 emails a day, and I've noticed actually that the lower the volume, chances are the better the format or the better the email is that you're writing. Actually, the higher the reply rate that you typically tend to get. So initially, when I had started Everscript, I was trying to send, 150, 200 emails a day, and my personalization wasn't as strong as what it is when I actually try to send less emails, kind of target better, more specific demographics. So, in my opinion, less is more really when it comes to cold outreach. If you can really create compared to maybe just sending 1,000 emails that are very generic, then in my experience, the stronger emails are going to result in higher reply rates.
Yeah. And just to sort of put some numbers to it. So when you're sending out 50, what's the reply rate versus what was, if you remember, what it used to be when it was like 150, 200?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd probably say when I was sending out more, I was getting maybe 2 to 3% replies.
Hmm.
And when I started sending out less, I was probably getting about 10 to 15% replies.
Yeah, that's fair, and that's a huge jump, by the way. I mean, if you scale this up, like you can clearly see it makes a massive difference to the pipeline in your business, right?
And also, when it comes to email, you don't want to send a lot of emails, right? Because if people aren't replying to your emails, Google and search engines like that will recognize that to end up banning your domain authority, and then you're just screwed at that point.
One of the things is from the deliverability point of view and your domain reputation point of view. There's
Right.
also a bad rep from the market point of view, because if for whoever's not replying to your email, you're probably pissing off a percentage of your target market, right? It's not just about what you win, it's about how you lose, who you lose, in that sense, right?
Exactly.
That
Exactly. I'd
requires
much rather get a reply from you saying, "Hey, thank you for taking the time. This email was very thoughtful, but we're not interested," rather than someone saying, "Hey, screw off."
yeah, yeah. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. I mean, that nuance gets lost sometime when you're cold emailing. Like, are people pissed off by you, or are they like, no, I'm not interested right now? There's a difference. There's a big difference.
Exactly.
Going on to my next question. So, what would be your advice to someone who's starting an outbound process today? Like, what are the top three things to keep in mind?
I would initially tell people to invest in figuring out who their exact audience is first. And then when you figure that out, utilize a tool like Sales Navigator to kind of build your list, right? So you'll use tools to come up with a list of prospects that you can reach out to. And it doesn't have to be a necessarily long list. You can start off just by doing maybe 10 emails a day. And that way you're going to be getting some responses and you'll be able to realize exactly what's working and what's not working. So it's all about testing when it comes to cold outreach. You want to test different copy. You want to test different subject lines. You want to test how many follow-ups you have, which is why I initially say start with a smaller campaign. For me, like I said, when I kind of got into cold outreach and cold email, I wanted to jump in guns blazing. So I was sending like 200, 300 emails a day. And then my domain got blocked, right? So my deliverability went down and I was wasting a ton of time. So I would tell people today, figure out the audience that they're trying to serve, what it is that they can do to help their audience, and then go from there. Start small, and then just make sure that you're doing it consistently, right? So send out 10 emails a day. That's 50 emails a week or 200 emails a month. And you're going to be able to see exactly what's working and what you can do to improve your cold email outreach after that.
I think that's brilliant advice, and it's sad that a lot of newbie cold emailers still fall into this trap, um, of trying to scale up things before you know what's working, right? So scaling happens when you have something to scale, right? When you
Right,
have a messaging that you found through small iterations, have the right target audience that you found only through small iterations. So
right.
that's I think brilliant advice, because that's what's needed. Find something that works for your target market, scale it up, right? But
Yeah.
you can't like jump around the like skip the finding part. The finding part is where the magic happens.
In addition to that, shorter emails, in my opinion, are better. You
Mm.
don't want to write out really long copy because, like you said, the people that you're reaching out to, chances are they're very busy and they don't owe you anything. So just by providing them a short little message that actually gives them value, then you're going to get a better response rate typically, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, one of the reasons why this is happening is also because a lot of people do their email on mobile now. So they'll just look at the first couple of sentences, and on the basis of that, they'll just decide whether to open it or just swipe it off, right? So
Right.
that old thinking around my email, gets opened on a desktop and somebody has time to go through the entire huge copy. That doesn't work anymore, especially with, like attention spans in general going down because of social media, as well as this mobile shift. So there are like big trends working against you when you're writing long email copy, right?
Yeah. And that's so disheartening, when you spend a lot of time writing a long email and you send that out to 100 people and you don't get any replies. So that's why I say start small and figure out what works. That way you're not wasting that much time trying to connect with people who you never had the chance of connecting with.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. On to my next question. So, what's next for you? What are the top three things maybe that you're the most excited about experimenting with when it comes to increasing your outbound effectiveness?
We're looking to jump into LinkedIn as a way of kind of accumulating customers. That's something that we're looking to do, and I'm kind of excited about that. But just slowly and steadily kind of ramping up our cold email outreach is something that we're also looking to do as well. So we kind of started small. Like I said, when we initially got into it, we were sending out a lot of emails, and we kind of toned it back. But we're kind of figuring out what works, and now we're slowly and surely kind of ramping it up a little bit just to improve our, the way we scale, I guess. Right? The
That,
amount of people or the amount of leads that we can generate.
yeah, that makes sense. LinkedIn is a solid move. It's a great platform, and I feel it's still in the early days. You can get crazy good engagement on LinkedIn. People are sharing quality posts. Like almost every big decision maker is there.
Hmm.
So in that sense, it's the platform for the future. Definitely, LinkedIn is a great thing to try out. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Cool. So I think we've learned a fair bit from Nigel. So thank you, Nigel, for taking the time and chatting with us.
Oh, no problem, Rob. I thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been really great to talk to you. Best of luck with the LinkedIn stuff in the future.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Cool. Bye.
Take care.